Hi, this is Aaron Lawrence, and today we're going to be talking about this week 5 EQ of stress tolerance. So, the first thing we got to know is what is stress tolerance, and that is the ability to remain relaxed and composed when you're faced with a stressful situation. And so, you can have either positive stress tolerance, which is your ability and how well you stay calm without getting carried away by emotions. And then on the other hand, you have the negative stress tolerance, which is where your emotions take over because of a stressful situation and you're unable to control them. So the article I took a look at here is how is your stress tolerance? It may be too high. So stress is designed to make us pay attention to pressure that can cause us future damage or pain, whether that's physically, emotionally, and sometimes even mentally. So there's two kind of types of stress. It can be motivating towards you, or you can be overwhelming and be a burden. And typically in this day and age, when we get stressed out, it's often seen as a negative kind of thing, because you should be able to handle whatever stress comes your way is kind of what society believes. So the question that was raised here, is it possible to have too much stress tolerance, and can not feeling stress damage yourself and others? So stress tolerance, for healthy stress tolerance, is paying attention to the pressure that is building and knowing your limitations. Understanding what you can handle and knowing how to handle it would give you a healthy stress tolerance. Now, if you don't have a stress tolerance, here are things you're more likely to do, like overestimate your abilities, create more pressure, high stress environments. Typically, it's associated with lack of empathy for those who are stressed around you, and you operate below your potential. You're also less likely to ask for help and be able to solve for smaller problems and identify the source. Now, stress is helpful at times. So it gives you the sign of that you're reaching your limits. You can be maxing out on your ability to retain information. Uh, it gives you a sign that you're maxing out on your ability to focus or make decisions, or even max out on your ability to do your work. So you got to figure out either a new project to do or a new way to do that. So one of the biggest problems with stress is that we don't admit it. And there's three kind of reasons why. First one is afraid. There's a huge stigma towards stress in this day and age, and sometimes we're afraid to look weak in front of ourselves and to other people. Another thing is called hyperfocus, where you're just kind of focused in on one thing, which is also known as tunnel vision, and you're so focused on the desire to succeed, you're not really seeing how it harms your body. You're just trying to get to that ultimate goal, and oftentimes the outcome for this is burnout. And the last thing is lack of self-awareness. This is unable to describe how you feel and can also overlap with the fear of admittance. You just aren't always focused in on your feelings, and you're just kind of just going through the motions, which can kind of be almost a summary of the two, but it's really just not knowing yourself and your limits. Also, stress does point out limitations. So take a step back, and you got to understand that emotional, physical, and mental energy sometimes are draining, and you got to find the cause. And sometimes, this can be just taking a break, or it also means you got to do a task the same way over and over again. You got to find a new way to do it, or sometimes you have to find a new task and all, just overall. It allows you to also focus on new areas, because knowing what you can do well that doesn't get you as stressed as something that you can't do as well. Uh, you should be focusing and allocating more time on those areas that you do well. Experiencing stress in areas of strength and passion often lead to more time and productivity and better performance. Even though technically those uh, areas of strength you can still feel stressed in, but you will oftentimes be better in performing. So how do we find a balance? The first one is you got to be aware. You got to ask yourself, when am I getting stressed, and how do I know when I'm getting stressed? Ask other people around who can tell you that you're stressed. You may not know when you're stressed at times. Observe and take notes on these factors, potentially find patterns. Internalize and externalize is one of the biggest ways to manage stress. What that means is, like, are you bottling up the stress, or are you lashing out on people? Another common way of managing stress is avoiding or attacking. You put off the problems, or you attack what's about to happen, and you're a go-getter. Lastly, there's habits to deal with stress, and that's how do you deal with it when it happens. Typically answers are food, alcohol, sleeping, drugs, television are all ways that we cope with stress. But there are healthy ways to cope and manage with stress. The first one is paying attention. Paying attention is one of the most key ways to help reduce stress because you're learning what you need to do, and sometimes this will help. Journaling is one. Daily meditation and exercise are all healthy ways to manage your stress. I personally have done journaling before, and it's a very interesting new way that I've never done uh, prior to that situation, and I thought releasing my feelings through writing helped quite a bit. Improving stress tolerance. Sometimes you have to seek counseling and learn new ways of how to do this. Set boundaries or limits because so when you try to exceed or get to these boundaries at a direct point of time of your goal or set your goals and get there at a certain time, that's when you start feeling stressed out. So if you set boundaries and limits, maybe it's per day, maybe it's an hour of doing something, that will improve how well you handle stress. Also, delegating responsibilities. You can give other people and coworkers responsibilities if you're feeling too stressed about whatever project or task you have at hand. So, in the game of football, there could be a lot of high stressful situations. You can have parents, players, boosters, administrations, referees can also be a big causer of stress. But there are plenty of ways to handle stress in football. You have other coaches available. All right? You have a staff that you can delegate responsibilities, and you can also reach out to your mentors that have helped coach you in the past to learn how they handle stuff and things like that. Another big problem is stress tries to be hidden from players. Coaches don't want to see that their players show their players that they're stressed out, but oftentimes the players do see that because the coach lashes out unpredictably at them. So, a few ways to get or to help manage that is you got to get adequate rest. The coaches always preach that to their players, but they got to do it themselves as well. And you're not alone. You have a staff behind you, and you just got to find a healthy way to manage your stress that pertains to you. I can't go out and tell you, hey, do this exactly, and you'll feel better. You got to work on it your own and find your own way how to do it. And that's all.